Hello, friends. I've been a little MIA recently. I'm currently in London. I've been off air for a number of reasons, but it's very nice to be back. I've definitely had a Pluto in Capricorn in my sixth house moment over the last few weeks. I got quite a high fever just before leaving for London, and that set me back a little bit. And then when I got to London, very sadly, one of my family members has been very, very sick. But she's making a slow, steady recovery, so that's very special. So that explains why I've been a little absent recently. But it's interesting when I look at my own astrology, and I want you to reflect on where is Pluto transiting in your chart. For me, it's the sixth house. That's the house of illness, the house of wellness, if you want. And it's at the anaretic degree, which is the 29 degree. It's a powerful moment. Now, when we come to mundane astrology, remember mundane means global, worldly in Latin. Pluto in Capricorn is really doing his job pretty powerfully now with taking down all these old institutions that no longer serve us. But on a personal level, Pluto is going to be doing his work, his magic, and it is death and resurrection, it's rebirth as well. Through whichever house that resides in your natal chart. So for me, it's the sixth house, the house of wellness, illness, and I've definitely gone through a total reboot over the last 2 weeks, and I'm still going through it. It's very powerful, actually. It's definitely allowing me to download more. It's interesting, I haven't had a fever for many, many, many years, and this fever has definitely cleansed my blood. And there is a purification, if you think in the alchemical sense, going on. And this is what happens with all of us when we get sick. We call it getting sick, but really we're getting upgraded. It's an ascension process. And when we allow that heat to push through and that temperature to rise and we don't suppress it, it's challenging, but it cleanses us. It's incredible what the heat does. So in this Freedom Report, I think, it's Christmas tide after all. I want to actually share a few thoughts I've had about the winter solstice that we've just had. I feel it's quite a positive one this year. Maybe the lights of London town have helped me here as I was walking around. Went to a pantomime yesterday and then out for dinner with all the whole family, which was just wonderful. And there's something amazing about the lights being turned on, the darkest time of the year, when you come together with friends and family and you share stories. And especially with Pluto at this anaretic degree of Capricorn, it is really about rebirth. And I think we're at this absolute fulcrum now, this choice between choosing human intelligence or artificial intelligence. It's like, do we take the yellow brick road or the red brick road? Do we take, the red pill or stay with the blue pill? And I think in a way, what's happening here, and it's all tied up with Uranus and Taurus as well, is there's so much new stuff coming down the pipeline. We have a lot of choice here, but we have to choose well. For me, the Pluto in Capricorn is really about all these old institutions, all these old corporations, way of being, these structured earthly systems. Remember, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. They are being shown for what they are, and they're not on the side of we the people. Going forward, we're going to be sovereign citizens of the world. I almost like to say we're patriots of the world. We're not going to be coerced by a higher authority any longer. And the reason that is the case is because we're waking up to understand what the system has been. And this ties in with the Uranus in Taurus. So, for example, the quantum financial system that is going to come in, I imagine, in 2024. I hope. None of us really fully know how, but there's a lot of, talk around this new system, this new system that's going to emerge as the economic collapse ensues in 2024. Now, the BRICS nation, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and many other countries, have already started to test out people coming into some of these countries without passports. I understand from one friend that they didn't need to show a passport as a tourist through the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. I don't know whether that's true. I haven't been able to corroborate that, but it's interesting if that is the case. We are definitely seeing now more and more obvious failure of the propaganda machine. We are seeing, this is the Great Awakening, we're seeing that the CNN, which is for me the Communist National Network, same with the BBC, a lot of this propaganda is now being seen as propaganda rather than news by more and more people. Also, we're beginning to see that some of this propaganda on the mainstream news outlets is actually AI generated. So there is this big, we're in this big opportunity here to really see what the AI is doing and then to sort of reclaim our human intelligence. The truth is going to set us free here. Identification with, the Holy Spirit, understanding that we are sovereign beings, yes, but we're actually divine spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think this is going to, and I'm going to talk about this so much right through to April, because for me, April is such a monumental month for so many astrological reasons, with predominantly the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. We're going to be rebuilding trust, rebuilding systems, because really at the end of the day, we've all been capitalized as a commoditized item. Yeah. Our birth certificates, have tied us to those trusts at the top of the banking and financial system. And for many people, they were forward marching into homogenesis, into basically an artificially intelligent cyborg where human was basically split with machine, with technology. So what we've done, we've come right up to the edge here. This is Pluto in Capricorn, and seeing just what was happening, frogs in the pot being slowly boiled. Fortunately, the temperature was turned up in 2016 with the election of the Orange Man to wake people up, because if she had won, we would have been slow frogs in the pot and we wouldn't have had the opportunity to reclaim our heritage, our sovereignty back. It would have been far, far, far worse. So for me, the Pluto in Capricorn is really about us just seeing just how much darkness there really has been, but also the opportunity to see how much we can create in the new Earth, and especially as Pluto moves into Aquarius in January next year, where he will be for about 7, 8, 9 months, and then he'll dip back because of retrograde cycle for one more time into Capricorn, just hitting the 29 degree again, and then fully into Aquarius at the end of 2024, where he will go right through to 2042. And so he won't return to Capricorn for another 240 plus years, which is, quite dramatic. But Pluto in Capricorn also is the beginning of new movements, new systems. Remember, Saturn rules Capricorn. We have to discuss the elephant in the room in that sense. And, these huge movements like MAGA, Make America Great Again. Why is Make America Great Again so controversial? Why have we been made it? Because the mainstream media wants us basically to dislike anything that takes us out of the system matrix. The MAGA movement is arguably the largest grassroots movement in the history of the United States. Now, other movements like Turning Point USA, they have been very important too. There are other ones as well. But it's all part of this MAGA movement, which is really grassroots, coming up from as I always say, Tom, Dick and Harry down at the pub, and they have grown exponentially, these people, this group, we the people, despite the suppression of information, of the truth by the corporate legacy media. Despite all the attacks by the mainstream media, this group has grown very significant. And again, thanks to Elon Musk. Whatever we thought of him before, what we see as Elon Musk today is basically, with Twitter, or X as it's called, is helping the people to see truth and to make up their own mind as to what's going on. So the Pluto in Capricorn at this anaretic degree also is a lot of attacks on anyone who's anti the old system. You see, what happens as the system collapses, Saturn gets angrier, gets his big stick out more, he tries to suppress, control, censor. And at the same time, Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus, obviously father of Saturn, is all about radical freedom and sort of explosive new ideas, new creativity. And of course, with Jupiter, his grandson, coming into the mix, really from now on in, and that conjunction becomes exact in April 2024, we're going to see some really cool fireworks. We're going to see really the manifestation of the new Earth coming down the pipeline very dramatically in 2024. Now, before we get to there, because obviously I do a Freedom Report once a week, let's talk a little bit about the full moon. We have a full moon on the 26th, 27th of December. This is a lovely full moon. It's in Cancer. So we're going to have this maternal, mother-like energy. And remember, full moon is when the sun obviously is going to be in Capricorn opposite the moon in Cancer. So the moon's very, very significant here. The moon rules Cancer. So we've got this very nurturing, caring, loving, sensitive, full of compassion and empathy archetype playing out over the Christmas period, the holiday period. This is very nice. And I think it's a really nice time to get close to family and friends. And even if it's not family or estranged, your friends become your family. And try and look to see where Cancer and Capricorn is in your chart. It's really important because then you can apply it to your own personal life. I've got Cancer in the 12th house. I've got Capricorn in the 6th house. Some of you might have it in the 4th and the 10th. So family, career. Some of you might have it in the 1st house and the 7th house. So your initial 1st house, how you project yourself out into the world, and then your relationships. But I'm particularly interested in this full moon because Jupiter also, the great benefic, is making a lovely aspect to this full moon. Is making a lovely sextile, which is 60 degrees with one another. So it's very supporting, and it's also very expansive. And of course, with Jupiter there, and also Venus is playing into the mix a little bit too. It is a very, very good time, for a woman to get pregnant, for example. It's very fertile, it's very abundant. And of course, that means pregnant with ideas, pregnant with concepts, with creativity. Creativity comes out in many ways. So Jupiter's also making a very nice trine, which is 120 degrees between the Sun and Jupiter. There's 120 degrees, but also actually Saturn and Jupiter are making a sextile. So there's a lot of nice numerological dancing going on here, and beautiful angles being created over the holiday period. So this is a really nice time to go in to create some of your own magic with friends and family. And then next year, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Chiron, because Chiron getting closer to the North Node, we're going to see this big Chironic principle come up a lot for all of us, collectively as well as individually. Now, anyone who has, anyone who's going through a Chiron return, late 40s, early 50s, is going to obviously feel this specifically. But collectively, we're going to have a lot of healing around victim consciousness. As the North Node and Chiron come together at 19 degrees Aries in April 2024, there's going to be a lot of healing around this and moving out of our old storytelling, our wounds, stuff like that. So I think at this stage, I'm going to speak more over the next few weeks about Uranus and Taurus and what that means. And next week, I'll also talk a little bit more about about Pluto in Capricorn, this last degree. But today I thought it'd be fun, instead of leaving you with a prayer, I wanted to tell quite a funny joke I heard the other day, and it's obviously got a sort of Christmas feel to it. A man and his wife and his mother-in-law, they went on holiday to the Holy Land. Now, while they were there, the mother-in-law very sadly passed away, and the undertaker told them that they could have a ship just for $7,000 all the way back to home, or you could have her buried here in the heart of the Holy Land for just $170. Now, the man thought about it, and he looked quite vexed for a moment, but then he realized very clearly, in no uncertain terms, what he had to do. He was going to have his mother-in-law shipped back home. Now, the undertaker asked him, why would you spend $7,000 shipping your mother-in-law home when you only would need to pay $170 and have her buried here in a beautiful place in the heart of the Holy Land? The man replied, well, here's the thing. A man died here in the Holy Land 2,000 years ago, and he was buried here. But the problem was, 3 days later, he rose from the dead, and I just can't take that chance. Anyway, Merry Christmas and God bless.